White Fire by Joseph S. Pulver, Sr. Dedicated for Jack London and Laird Barron. A man who is about to die is not likely to be very elegant in his last words. Being in a hurry to sum up his whole life, he tends to make them rigorously concise. Jean Ray, The Main's Psalter. Oh, my treasures! On his knees, ice-muzzled, shivering cracked lips struggling with the word lost. Acute white snow, shapeless, shifting. A day with no sun or cloud. White crushing light with its glaring fire. No fisher to there or free in this funeral. No pattern of charity. Cold. Thicker than granite under zero or New England winter. The experiments of explorers uprooting history, over, shattered by the wolf, by greed, running from the cascade of devils. No way back, no out, this or there, the same blindfold of pure white. 2 sled dogs, good dogs, dead. 2 more that would not dominate distance with faithful resolution. Petrified. Didn't even remember their names. Not much longer for the other 8. His canvas saturated, too. Ice. Cold curved, rough, snarling. For a myth no exertion could break. Not another step. Cold, hard as iron and steel, sank its fangs into panting, closed the circle. Trotting, a behaviour of instincts that won't spread over the ground again. A country without inches or light, or a map that held transit to reason. Snow falls, snow drifts. What is blown swirls, blinds. Snow, a great beast, a concrete bulk, comes and keeps coming. The whiteness, conquer a flag, its teeth shred sure as the hard end of an 8-gauge. Whiteness, windowless, no Christmas lawn spread before him, a dance of madness all around. Dream scenes. The vase empty of forget-me-nots in the mirror. Heaven handwritten on a map of the city. 2 a.m. Small talk and Girl Scout cookies. Rubbing his chest with his good hand, trying to make moments and miles imaginable. Had there been stars? The soft vocabulary of believing. A moon that enlarged evening as it emerged from its ink-stained clouds. Weather that had cleared and allowed you to see morning after the tramp of your offending huff. Other men, talking over coffee, tucking in small complaints and laughing. Was there still a painting of a waterfall robed in gold over the fireplace in his father's study back home? Lost. Nothing else will fit into his mouth. Home. Memories he used to live in. Little white house with its little white porch and windows recounting framed pleasures to the flower beds. Late September, the compelling treat of orange, the new king of colours. On the porch, on his elbows and knees, knowing harvest was coming, tossing peanuts to the squirrels, grinning at the fat one he called Bozo, the one who was happy to bounce from peanut to peanut. Was there? Order? Something in the oven? Intentions that paid off? In another universe, perhaps. The one that was not swept clean by this broadside. Something with appeal and crafted with habits and landings that didn't plant you in misery, where luck and laughter were pals. Some other place, a stable harbour where you remembered to take your umbrella and didn't sell yourself down the river. A place with a quiet sunset. If he could step away, could he find the strength to still yearn? Those times, experiments and collisions, cutting the weeds and grass, discarding the growth in the mirror, the aftershave, the kiss of her picture, surveying mouths for lies or comforts, the magic of a gift accepted, bourbon, playing cards, blue on the other side of the kitchen window. Plucked away from the velocity of his dreams by the soft, firm voice coming from the window. "Edward, it's time for dinner." Warm rolls with dinner, and her eyes. Nick's, too. He'd lost her picture in the pull of impossible weather, gust and gone. Lost sight of Nicolette's genteel and angel song. He should have remained in that place, should have stopped and thought things out, thought it stricken and dulled, thought the mundane, foolish, iron that struck down amusements. Might have anchored his bones to being there if Nick stayed. Might. But aim lost its territory, got ready to go, display his nature for investigations. Decided he'd had enough of his own cross-examinations, brushed troubled ends off his shoulders, set out for joining. Went to school. Lit and history and geology. They'd told him it was the easiest science. Didn't fit, didn't get a fire. Yawned, took the seas, left quickly. Didn't turn to see the doors close on the myths he no longer carried. Went to sea. Lay in his bunk, rocked and read Moby Dick as a joke. Thought of Grandpa's chatty fish stories, dreamed of Nantucket sleigh rides, sea ivory and terrible monsters, sang with his mates, found surprises and memories, sailed. Astonished by flawless stars the first weeks, stared in the depths for exhibitions of grandeur, saw the sea, day after day, vast, endless, no Tuesdays, no Fridays, no harbour. Toil with the nets, rock in his bunk, expectations trimmed, laughter too. Felt small in the wide. Drank some, no cure pushed back the cold revelation. Felt lost and bewildered. Wide grew, locked in another day, saw the sea. The sea did not change. Ran away again. Home, thankful for the miles of dark green forest between him and the sea, settled back into his studies. Didn't throw up a hallelujah, but he worked at it. A little. Met Jean Renaud in a campus coffee shop. Followed it with pizza and Jean Renaud's fascination with old Antarctic accounts. Waving his cigarette about like a conductor's baton, Jean-Claude spoke of Danforth and the two Poe letters from 1849, which he'd discovered in his grandfather's papers, and spun a narrative about the allusions and assertions of something other that waited beyond the lighthouse at the end of the world. Tarnished accounts of a lost land, alien things. The songs on the jukebox faded in space and time as the chest of destruction was opened. Mysteries, the clash of natures and destinies. As a kid, he was never big on sci-fi books or books in general. Movies, sure, but not books. Yet he'd loved Verne's Journey to the Centre of the Earth, and some Edgar Rice Burroughs, and, for a heartbeat, Erich von Däniken. Thoughts of something akin to Pellucidar took flight. Call of the Wild, sure, back across the ferocious sea, a spectral land of ghosts and desolation, a wild, untamed place, but it may present the opportunity for an achievement like no other. I want to look into the abyss and see if there's anything tangible there. Glory, my friend, if we find it, if we bring back proof. Got sucked in and signed on. Sailed away, some laughed, into menace. South. Felt the cold come, grow. It challenged the blue right out of the sky. Pure white, majestic blue, mountains immortal when the Romans held slaves, when humans first rigged hopes on the light of the moon. Picturesque, for a time. In the caverns below, the discoveries came. Surroundings lost order. New time came out of its burrows in the cold ground, silent, salted, afraid with wild. Abundant was burnt out of future. And he ran, soiled by weakly and imprudent, carrying puniness and little else, he fled, panic his route. No more mystery, just strangeness and wind. Wind, her saraband of dissonance, of devil music. Wind, the vigour of its bristling speech presses its muscle to shoulder, to neck, presses, slashes, threatens ribbons savagely wrought, finds its way in, gives winter, an epidemic of wind. Weakened by terrors, not moving, going under, no satin-lined box to put terrible in, no undertaker, every breath slower than the last. Nobody's here. No. Nick. The lustre of her California laugh when she asked if he had a penny to have his fortune told. Nick. The new existence, built with fever arrows, he discovered as she danced to I Feel Love in that black slip. He thought it was silk, if soft moonlight was black. Nick. Primal. Free. By anyone's standards she was pretty, alluring, the right nose, right cheeks, just high enough. Perfect lips, jawline a statue in a museum would kill for. But her eyes, dig through the glimmer of a pirate's treasure chest, and you would not find better. Beautiful. Pieces of home, the sleepy village, the histories of soft, the casual flowers along Wilson Creek Road. 14, staying up all night under a full July moon, listening to an owl who was not rooted to branches, and the pull of the stars. The middle years of infatuations, pushing off capricious branches to see if its wings could explain the horizon. Inhaling theories, new spells, some of which held, and small successes. Ransacking 16 and carting away whatever true he could find. Socks on the nail, coffee on the back porch, with the ripe conference of yellow-tinted finches at the feeder, while the smaller dark birds sat in branches waiting. White, hatching another exclamation of white. Fun! Skiing the White Majestic at Gore 2 days after Christmas with Mike and Lena. 8. Making snow angels with Susie, giggling wildly the whole time. 12. The snowman snowball fights with Dom, and the shoveling the driveway, and the 2-story snow fort next to Jimmy Camarere's pigeon coop. The cozy table by the window in Petta's Italian restaurant. On New Year's Eve with Nick, and the velvet doe standing on the frozen creek. Cold took it all. Every disguise and accent of memorial in the barracks of his memory, leached without a word, burned the layers of past in its blasting. Now! Dates, learned. Her blue silk blouse. the words of apology that weren't suited for the bed. There was no ledger or birthday that remained hidden or intact. White fire and no clock, no undo. They'd stood at the doors, levelled their electric torches, opened the eruption of an existence that changed every man, the smell that was not friendly. Jean Renaud. This changes everything, everything. Engel's quick, follow me, a command burning along the slope of coveting. Step by step and further they climbed right into it. Chambers and passages that detailed an alien prehistory, blazing architecture, Stonehenge and the pyramids, kids' toys, carving of both art and science, corridors and bridges and rooms it would take years to survey and penetrate. Step, standing in grim, brushed and imprinted by facts that compromised, commandeered, all that had been formalized by human understanding. Chambers that capsized the grids and structure of fact, the hammer that swept aside every model of geologic, biologic, and astronomical. They opened it, and the harsh enemy targeted lives. Black fire raged. Engel screamed, "Shoggoths!" He was the first to be absorbed by violence. Impossible wrote. Forces with no middle ground whirled, and hysterics encountered zero. And he ran, ignored the blunt of cold to be free of finished. Now he sat, a thing that did not flap, a thing in a land with nothing to burn, no sky in the grave of apart. Apart, struck, trapped. Mouse to cat's cold warm left. An hour ago, a day, with so many pieces missing, he couldn't tell. He stopped, maybe it was stopped, stumbled, fell, and his adrenaline-fueled fight-or-flight response didn't raise a "get up." Every signal of difference he had, his steps, his bowls, the speed and act of his nerves, his tell, was pinned to this nation of white. Barely had his idiot left. Lost a mitten and followed it by dropping his goggles. Got spun around and couldn't find them. He wasn't supposed to be out in this inhuman shit. Not in the vast blistering of white, influenced only by unsympathetic cold. No one was. Not alone. Coyne, former Marine hard-striped sergeant and still a Major League hard-ass, laid down the rules for everyone. No one, man or dog, goes out in condition 5 weather. On your own, you die out there. He'd heard it, knew it, wished he'd remembered it. Arsehole. Stupid. How many times did he tell everyone? Other side of that door is fucked all the way to dead. Shitload of pain before you get there, too. Alone, bent and small, whatever grit he ever possessed weathered out of him, with no acceleration to movement and no ship to turn from death everywhere toward a map of places. Being terrified after Ancient was jarred awake hadn't helped. Maybe a few seconds of cautious sense, and he'd have taken the snow track, not the dogs. Would have sealed him off from the wind, and it had a heater. Instead, he shot himself into a death struggle with raw snow and exposure. From there, his spirit hadn't been enough to interfere with or challenge the solid radiation of cold. Tired. No climb to summer on his tongue. No wings to force into labour in this grave of white fire. Tied down, crushed, dead man, fleeing into a condition 5 weather situation without proper supplies. Arsehole. Arsehole. Split, Leviathan shattered, dead man, winter sculpted. The white tomb swells, His eyes cry out no name. His face froze, no longer a carpet of features. Sure wasn't like this when they got past the stalactites and opened the doors and leapt past and ran with their upside-down imaginations. The air was blissful, stank, but it was warm. It was here. Their lamps shone on gold's delirium. Really here. Christ, we found it. Glory, my friend. Proof. Smiles, brio that needed no translation. Shaking hands. Behind him, Herbie's foreign accent summed things up. Wow. He heard Professor Roosevelt drop his Ph.D. You ain't shitting. He agreed. All that and more. This discovery would free him. It would bring money, maybe some fame, and there'd be interviews and features in the press, and, he was willing to bet, down the road, documentaries and movies. If he let it, this could release him from the past where Nick took the full measure and killed herself. He might be able to get some of himself back, or maybe avenues he'd never considered would greet him with some kind of guiltless redemption. No vague to the mind-bending impressions they stood admiring. It was all right in front of him, waiting to pull him from anger and grief. Eyesight for the blind. Jean Renaud slapped him on the back. Jean-Claude was glowing as if he was 8 and it was Christmas. Didn't hear the dogs growling. None of them did. Too busy bringing out instruments to assist their intensity, spot to spot, artifact to artifact. If we sequentially connect the complex growth shown in panel 1, any analysis would lead to a discussion of heightened, abandoning philosophy with physical fact. They wouldn't let them break the spell. Didn't. For hours they guarded the brilliance of their new flame, let it nurture them, until the harsh blows of long-forgotten, hunted understanding, enthusiasms, deeds, impetuous pride, gone in an aggressive gesture. Black fire. He ran to survive. Ran from bestial, from the corpses scrawled on the calendar of death. Pushed the dogs, screamed, begged for fast and miles. Then he lost a mitten, and the first dog died. No camp, no biscuits, no cigars with Connolly and Jean Renaud, no New York, no steaks and quiet laughs in O'Reilly's with Fred and Derek. Strolling the park, pleasantly arguing with Tom after the Yankees game over which Rays was Rays. Then off to try slices in both to maybe determine a winner. Or just have another cold one and laugh. He would never see Grandpa Charlie's little white porch in Danbury again. The flowers, the clover, the rocking chair on the deck of the whaler where fish stories sailed. Absent. Warm in a ditch with no ramp to the road of attaining. Fingers numb freeze the sentence of cold's law. Nose frozen, cheeks frozen, feet beyond the acid throbbing, cold marble forever closed on the cream of warmth's hospitable. Skin chilled beyond any desperate command to reach or move in the cutthroat stronghold of clenching cold. Blood couldn't get to the heart of the matter. Looks at his fingers, imagines warm. Tries to, but there's no lust in it. Looks again, fails to grasp the myth. All of him shivering, stammering, and paying dearly for the unstructured and unprepared flight. You better run, his only thought. Took the empty sled, less weight, faster, his only reaction to the absolute at his heels. Asshole! More heat leaving. He wanted a cigarette, wanted a fire, wildfire or inferno. Sighs mattered to his momentary lust. Grandmother Spider, the myth of fire, there and gone from the page of desire. There were no spiders in this frigid waste. Hadn't seen a clay pot either. Another myth with no basis. Wanted a weapon that could repair the landscape. But the cold that was eating him told him those doors were locked. Wanted his mind back. Wake up, home, in bed, bare feet on the hardwood floor to the bathroom mirror. Yawn, mutter, stare, looking at days of little town blues. Coffee, staying alive on the kitchen radio. Nowhere. Nobody would come and help. Nobody was left. Chained. Out of growing. Load bigger. Colder. 100 years ago, that expedition. Ridicule and disbelief dropped. True, no madman fantasy. Even the horrors. Out of the storm of screams and viscera into this white hell. Screamed insane. Screamed fuck. Fuck! White fire. Monster. Biting, burning, unrelenting. No God. Why? Would it hurt to have one? Or a dozen? Saviour, vessel, passage, compass, easing with bells and psalm. Just one, rooted in light to grant beginning and earth as a house of warmth. Someone to take the words of mouth and footsteps of prey and build a firmament and vineyard of soft and secure above the alone, carved by the worm in this enormous illusion. Why not? He'd give up temptations and misfortune and heathen soul for just one. Would have. Would. Cracked lips forced into existence. Sun, goddammit. No sun, no God. Wind with no mend, pushing white with its current of suffering. Wind stretching, etching grief, condemning head and hand. Cold the true devil. The white fire burns, burns slave, past shuddering and whimpering with swift horrors, besieges dazed with lost. Wants a God to summon up and kill the devil with Bible. Wants a God to grant Icarus wings and fly away home, away from the white world. 100 years ago, the white fire, that black fire, that tore off their clothes, that tore up their souls. Tightrope, ice, fire, no saving net of soft landing in heaven. Was true, terror, despair, knife-edge severing all, no hiding place. Make it gone! No keep on trucking, out of chance, out of weeping, lost the word mum. Others too. Almost had a lock on meadow. No need to recall bleak. It's there uprooting him. So few fragments of communication to embrace. Sits, silent. He's drifting. Beyond sorrow, beyond hopes. An animal lost in the wilds of now. Now, succumbing to the bludgeon of cold. No sailor, no adventurer, no one along to survive. No one could there be. Silent, now, degraded, every nerve, every instinct. Sleepy depths beyond half-mad, stripped of sensibilities, and can't hang on to the touch of human. Now, only the cold white fire, alone. 100 degrees below zero, wind that left no whisker of a trail. Wind, whip with no thrift, blowing all bare and dumb. Cold, greater than any god, blind to please for once, or curses to circumstance. Cold, burns cheeks, closes the pages of hands, cultivating nothing, pressing on, sledgehammer, fangs in the cloister of flesh and within, cold that reads no crucifix or scripture, no pity, no melt, tide that paralyzes rhyme and fact, nulls accuracy, loose gone, breast hollow of need, parts of him, no more take it to pout over, tortured, stiff after the negative of give up, barred from the dance of sensation. Dreamlike in this grave, his few starts and shapes and all worth gone from his tongue, nothing resonant, nothing to depend on. Cracked but didn't surrender. Tried to press on until his heels couldn't release him from hobbled from the blinding white construction. Bombarded and denied. He never endorsed this with syllables or thought. Frenzy, fear, and grieve as the thief left no room for next, as it took. A little at first. Lips and toes got in and under. The prowler moved block to block. Increments, thighs. Inner, deeper the cannonball warlord leapt. Took away wings, took sense, wasted, froze nature's order, grew. Coming apart, his streets, once round as sacred sun choir calling, now quiet or even half-heartedly, some now dead, the others dying, but not quick enough. The white fire burns, white blinds, melted from the external world. He can't see the sled, can't tell if the dogs are still there. Cold holds, takes skill from the hand, takes little plans from the mind, replaces got with slavery. No next, no possible. Whirlwind pulled awareness oars from the water. Fucking cold. Mum believed in a loving God, eternal love too, compassion, gently. Her cherry pies, oozing, still warm, wasn't even stern when I brought the bees in the kitchen. Butter. Make your tongue soar on songs of bliss. America. There was a sundial in Nick's dad's yard. Big yellow moon, too. That wasn't a mirage. Was a masterpiece. I like tomatoes. Little salt, mayo, on toasted rye. Put your feet up and climb into sleep in front of the TV. 50 trillion cells in this shell, and each feels like a crystal of ice. Ice, white, pure white. No strength for desperate, nothing out loud. Knew he'd never survive without shelter. Nothing left to concede. Blurry. Blinking doesn't change the throttling whiteness. Pain, curling up. End this. Called them shoggoths. They came out of the door, rushed, no snarling. Took Sinclair and Dickie, both. Panic, seized, yelped, screamed, started to, as their consciousness was gnawed by madness. Lost toes, desire. They all screamed as they died. Shoggoths. One of the few things they knew from the documentation. So little they understood. Fragments, not the magnitude, no time to take it all in. Barely enough time to begin to calculate. Jammed, they shot, ran, dropped every rule mother and science and church had instilled. Scattered, tried to retreat, shot and cursed chance and risk. The mistake that spilled blood at the terrible fury that did not growl as things were shed. Ran, dropped the guns that had no strength left in them. Ran, but not fast enough. Lost their heads. Died. Connolly and Jean Renaud, Jean-Claude's broad shoulders, his equations and procedures. Glory, my friend. No face. Shoggoths. Pitiless wind stops. Dead hush. Still snowing too hard to allow sky. Drowned in the stampede of cold and ice-blind, he does not notice the absolute silence. Thrown far from the rest of sober reason, sees no chance. Drowsy. Can't. The burn violently ending another thought before it blossoms whole. Sputtering. Disabled. Running out of things for yearning to reach for. One hand dead, useless after losing its mitten. Cold, empty, and it will not change the mountains that barred any escape. Head down, beyond madness, wrecked by a thing with no philosophy, explain with no place to stand, body out of hill and breath, fields that cannot paint colour as they shrink under bitter, horse standing in the rain, waiting for it to pass. But he knows cold and its inferno will not pass, not while his shell, a crumb of error, numb, and all it contained, burns to rubble. Caught in, finished. Over soon. Then he won't have to care, won't be torn by fool, will never stare at ruin again. Ruin, blackened prison reducing all to rubbish, looks at the brittle hand of an inmate. Never hold a cigarette again. Just a thing now, an appendage. Frozen meat in a land where meat was scarce. Do they eat? Dark power from the deep crypts. Dark forever. Black. Things. Shapeless. Unrelenting. Coming. One shot left in the rifle. His fingers, like his eyes and the corners of his mouth, are thick with ice. Can't position it to finish things. Call them. Let them come. Silence the white fire. Put an end to the irrevocable. Worn out. Snowblind. One scream would call them. Opens his mouth. Let the black fire consume him. After Jack London's To Build a Fire.